Okay, we have the revisit episode going for Blue Green Emerge. I was saying last time that I was pretty excited about this. I think that Blue Green Emerge, I don't know that it's the best deck in the format, but it's probably my favorite deck in the format. I really enjoy it. There's just something that's fun about making your creatures into just bigger monsters, like the thing, the movie, just having things erupt from inside of them into these horrible monstrosities. I kind of love it. Here, I think it's a pretty easy Somberwald Stag. We don't really want Abundant Maw. It's not a terrible emerge card, but generally you want to be blue-green. You can splash it a little bit, but it's not worth it that much. Like, you've got to have a real reason to want to, and I don't think that we need it yet. The big thing is, like, if you have some fixing already, or you're really light on emerge cards, but you have a lot of, like, really good creatures to emerge, like you have a bunch of Exultant Cultists, and you have, like, some, like a Foul Emissary, or an Enlightened Maniac, things like that, and you really need it, then it makes sense. First pick, it doesn't. Somberwald Stag's just fantastic, too, so it's a pretty easy pickup, I think. Now we have Bloodbriar, which we can use to get counters on it. I mean, ostensibly this works in the Emerge deck. I've never found that you're sacrificing enough that this suddenly becomes insane. It's never bad, necessarily, but it's not great either. It's just kind of there. Most of the time I find that I'll emerge this itself. Like, you tend to emerge a lot of 3-drops. Bloodbriar is one of your 3s. It's probably replacing something that would be like an Exultant Cultist or something if you had them, so you're generally going to end up sacrificing them to emerge your creatures anyways. I don't think it's a huge addition, but it's not terrible either. Dragunder is fine. I did put it in our last review in my top 5 commons for the archetype. I think I'm going to have to change that a little bit, but it's close. It's still good. I think that it's the pick here. The big thing that drags it down a little bit for me is that you don't need a lot of them. So, sure, it's a good common, and I like having 1 or 2, but, like, it's 1 or 2. You really don't need a lot more than that. Now we have some interesting pickups. We can take a Tattered Haunter, which is decent enough, and it's certainly not a bad card to emerge off of. You can get in a little bit of damage early, and then when they get a blocker for it, then you can just emerge it into something better. We also have an actual emerge card, which is It of the Horrid Swarm. The problem I have with It of the Horrid Swarm is it kind of sucks. I like a lot of the emerge cards, but It of the Horrid Swarm is not a great one. It's 6 power, but for 7 mana, and I mean just a 4/4 as the main one, I want something that's bigger. It just doesn't do enough in my mind. I've played It of the Horrid Swarm or had it played against me, and so often by the time that you're landing it, it just feels like the creatures that it makes get blanked. So I'm just going to take Tattered Haunter here, even though it is an emerge card. I'm really looking for like Lashweed Lurker, Wretched Grift, Drownyard Behemoth. Those are the cards that I want. Okay, well, there's a good black card, but I'm not taking that. I could take Tattered Haunter here. Or Woodland Patrol. Woodland Patrol's reasonable, at least. It's not great, but it's something that I could take. I think I like the Tattered Haunter a little bit more. Cultist Staff, I think, is a little bit underrated. It's a hard card to rate. I think that it's pretty decent. It's not good in this deck, though, because the point of the deck is to emerge very large creatures out, and then you don't need to Cultist Staff those. So, I mean, it's fine on your little creatures, but you're going to be trying to sacrifice those into bigger ones. So I don't really need that. We'll just take the Haunter. Now we have an Enlightened Maniac, which is a good card for us to merge off of. Still no actual emerge cards, and this is a problem. The issue is finding the cards that have emerge printed on them. Getting things like Enlightened Maniac or the Exultant Cultist, that's a little bit easier. It's tougher to actually get the emerge cards. Spontaneous Mutation could be okay. I don't mind the card. I need ways to actually get things into my graveyard to really care about it first, though. I have Dragunder that goes in fairly easily, but nothing else so far. I'm not as high on it as some people are, unless you can find ways to put things into your graveyard already. If you have, like, a Grapple with the Past or two, then Spontaneous Mutation goes way up. But currently I'm not really, really big on it. Take a Woodland Patrol here so we can at least cut a little bit of the green signal. We've been taking a lot of blue cards and hardly any green. Alright, Vexing Scuttler. There we go. We've got some signs of life. I was really worried that Emerge was getting taken by somebody else, but if Vexing Scuttler is coming this late, that's a great sign. This card's good. This card's quite good. Being able to rebuy some, like, Drag Unders or something is nothing to scoff at, and it's a 4/5, so I mean, it's decent size, too. If we can get some really good spells, like if we can get a Prey Upon or Rabid Bite, things like that, then Scuttler goes way up. Now, we're not going to play Emrakul's Influence. This is not a card that you ever want to play. Whether you're emerging or not, you think that you're like, oh, well, I've got like 4 emerge cards. Emrakul's Influence will draw me cards. That's great. Yeah, I mean, you have to get this first, and then you have to hold, or you hold on to these. Like, it's just, it doesn't make any sense. You spend way too much time trying to set it up to actually get anything off of it. I'm taking Turnaside there over the Field Creeper. I feel like I can get a lot of Field Creepers later. And Turnaside's a decent sideboard card. Also not bad with a Vexing Scuttler out of the sideboard. Because if we end up against a deck that has a lot of removal, then we might want multiple Turnasides or ways to buy it back. Take the Field Creeper here. I think the most fun that I had with Vexing Scuttler is I played on a stream. I had a sealed queue that I think I had 2 Vexing Scuttlers and 2 Grapple with the Past and then a Dark Salvation. And so I could just like constantly rebuy Vexing Scuttlers to keep replaying Dark Salvation. Yeah, that deck was sweet. And that's where Vexing Scuttler can be really, really strong. You need a great spell to go with it, but it gets really powerful when you do. Obviously, Dark Salvation is, you know, hard card to hope for because it is rare, but getting something like a Rabid Bite is perfectly reasonable. That or Prey Upon. Clear Shot would be great. Clear Shot's a great card to have with it. And those are pretty reasonable to expect to pick up at some point, like at least one of them. Alright, none of these cards matter. They're all pretty bad. And hopefully we can just get Elder Deep Fiend and I can feel great about the way this deck is going. Other cards that I'm looking for would be, like Lashweed Lurker would be a good open that's not rare. Foul Emissary would be fine, I guess, but I'd much rather just have an Emerge card. Like a Wretched Gryff is probably a lot better than a Foul Emissary. Instead we get Backwoods Survivalist or Ingenious Scob. I kind of like the Scob. Just having another 3-drop seems more important than more 4s. You get a lot of 4s in this format, I think. So I'm just going to take the Ingenious Scob. I'd rather have some 3s. They're both really powerful. Like, they're nice commons for sure. I like both of them. But I think that Scob is just a little bit better because it's cheaper. Like, when you have 2 things that are close in power level, you almost always should go for the cheaper card. It's a good rule of thumb. It's not 100% that way, but it's really close. You'd have to have a lot of early game and almost no late game for it to switch the other way around. Now we have Cryptolith Fragment, which I just love this card. This thing's so hard to answer. There is also Exultant Cultist and Dragunder. With a Dragunder already, I think that I might just take the Cultist here. And that's where I was thinking before about doing some switches for like the 5th best card. Exultant Cultist is really quite nice. You don't have to emerge it for the card to be good. Just a 2/2 that whenever it dies and trades off gives you a card is pretty strong. I like it. I've been more impressed with the Exultant Cultist than I thought I would be. It's close. The 5th card in this format it's a real big toss-up, so we'll play a little bit more and I'll discuss that too in the article afterwards, just kind of where I'm going to place it. It's a tough one to decide. Oh, wow. These are some great cards for us. Drownyard Behemoth and Wretched Gryff. Oof, that's a tough one. I think that I'd rather have the Wretched Gryff than the Drownyard. Like, Gryff is cheaper, draws you an extra card, it has evasion. It's got a lot going for it. The Drownyard's really strong too, because obviously you tend to just eat a pretty large creature on your opponent's side. Like, if they attack in, you generally tend to get them with it. That's the point. But I honestly think that Wretched Gryff, like that situation doesn't always come up. A lot of the times you'll just play it on your turn or at the end of your opponent's turn without them attacking, just because you need to put something onto the board and start attacking yourself. And then it's still good, but it's just a big 5/7. Whereas Wretched Griff is, you know, just always value. So I think that we take the Wretched Griff. Wretched Griff is really strong. Now we have Enlightened Maniac, another Ingenious Scob, and a Woodland Patrol. I'm going to take the Ingenious Scob, I think. I already have Exultant Cultist and Enlightened Maniac. I think that this one might wheel. We only have 2 emerge cards. I think that the Scob's a little more important because of that. I'd really like some spells that we can buy back with the Vexing Scuttler. Something decent. Now we have Lab Brute, It of the Horde Swarm, and Mockery of Nature. None of these are great emerge cards. Mockery of Nature is the other card that's in the running for worst emerge, because it's just, how often are you destroying artifacts or enchantment? If you can actually get that to happen, if you're triggering that constantly, then this card goes up a lot, but that's really rare. Where an It of the Horde Swarm, like we talked about before, it just gets trumped way too easily. There's way too many things that are like 4/5s or something that can just block it, or just 4/4s. You can have like a backwoods survivalist on the other side of the board, and It of the Horde Swarm just trades. Like, that's not great. That's not where you want to be when you're sacrificing something to get it out. I don't like Lab Brute all that much either, though. So I might just take our Mockery of Nature for the sideboard. If I come across a deck that has enough enchantments and artifacts, maybe I'll put it in. Alright, I like an Exultant Cultist here. Lab Brute, yeah, not that useful. It's not the worst because I might be able to pick up a Spontaneous Mutation on the wheel, and I would like to do that, but I can't take it over Exultant Cultist. Cultist is just way too strong with our emerge cards. Now we have Grit, Fogwalker, Waxing Moon. I think I'll just take Fogwalker. It's not bad to have a 1/3 blocker. Not super excited about it or anything, but I see no reason not to. There's nothing great in that pack. Terrarian here, just in case we splash like a black card or something. It's unfortunate we didn't get any Lashweed Lurkers. Nothing too great. Drownyard Behemoth didn't wheel. I'm pretty sure somebody else is in the same plan here. Crossroads Consecrator doesn't seem great. I have the Exultant Cultist and Enlightened Maniac, I guess. I think I'd rather take Contingency Plan, even though that's pretty terrible. It might have a chance to get in. Alright, Swift Spinner, I'll possibly main deck. Ooh, Mecha Wolf. I think we want... Wolfkin Bond is pretty bad in Blue-Green Emerge, because you're going to sacrifice a lot of your small creatures. If you put it on an Exultant Cultist or an Ingenious Scob, and then you draw Wretched Griff, and it's your only creature, that's really awkward. Like, what do you do? So I think... I mean, Lupine Prototype's bad, though, so we'll just take the Somberwald, or the Wolfkin Bond, I guess. If it was Somberwald stack, we wouldn't have had any kind of tough choice there. That would have been very easy. And none of these cards matter anymore, so we'll just grab the last couple. And see where we go from here. Last time we opened Arlen Cord and Jason, one of ours. I was going to say, wouldn't it be great if we could open one of those two again? But hey, there we go. Perfect. We did it. We did it, Reddit. We landed the Arlen Cord immediately. Holy crap. As I was saying it, it immediately lands in my lap. I will take it. We'll find some way to splash it. The card's strong. I mean, it's not the best Planeswalker in existence, far from it, but it is still a Planeswalker, and those are at a premium, so we will take it. Oh, wow. What a great called shot. I didn't quite get to finish saying what I was going for before it actually happened, which is even better. Thank you, Arlen Cord. Now we definitely need, like, a fork in the road or something. Although we do have the Terrarian. I should probably put that back into the deck. So Terrarian's very reasonable now. I need some spells, too. I really need an Enlightened. I really need a Rabbit Bite or... Like, what else would it be a good spell for us to have? Maybe if I can splash something in red, but what would even be good? Like, there's really nothing great. Reduce to Ashes is the most splashable removal spell, but it's not a great one. I guess we take Byway Courier here. Sinister Concoction's not something we're going to be playing when we already have Arlen Cord. So, Byway Courier is fine, I suppose. Compelling Deterrence. That's not the worst. I do have 2 Ingenious Scobs. So it does work with some of our zombies, and it's nice to get back with Vexing Scuttler, I suppose. Not amazing, but decent enough. And I do just need some more spells. For Prowess on the Ingenious Scob, for the Vexing Scuttler. So it's not the worst thing to get. Niblis of Dusk isn't terrible either. Or Wildfield. Wildfield Scarecrow for Arlencord is actually really good. Maybe I do that. We have options, that's for sure. I like being able to get that Arlencord out easier. Maybe it's Wildfield. I think I'm just going to take Wildfield, now that I think about it. I really want to be able to make Arlencord easy. Another Byway Courier, an Aim High, a Game Trail, and a Warp Landscape. These are some picks. That's tough. I kind of want Byway Courier. It's the strongest card in the pack, I think, but I have a lot of creatures. It might almost be Aim High, just so I have some kind of trick. I have very little in the way of actual, like, tricks and removal, so it's at a bit of a premium here. I think that I like Byway Courier enough that I still just take it, but that's tough. Our only removal currently is Somber Waldstag, and then we have Drag Under as pseudo removal. A combat trick can act as a little bit of, like, again, pseudo removal, kind of like Drag Under. Sometimes you just get things, but I'll pass it for now. That might be really, really bad for us, though. Might Beyond Reason. It is a spell. Ghostly Wings is something that I could use too, possibly. I do have Enlightened Maniac that's nice to get into play again. Do I have anything else? Somber Waldstag. I can take Ghostly Wings. It's a decent enough sideboard card. I might want to use it for specific situations or against certain decks. Silent Observer is a really good flying blocker, so I think that makes a lot of sense. Just snap that off. Now there's Nagging Thoughts, Dire Swine. I actually don't think I mind a Nagging Thoughts here. I might even play it. I need some 2-drop kind of playables. Wow, another Game Trail. I'll take it. I mean, it makes Arlencord easier. And another Warp Landscape with it. Very interesting print run. Furtive Homunculus. I think that replaces Fogwalker. This can actually trade off a little bit better. There's a lot of 3/2s in the format. Things like the Ironclad Slayer, Byway Courier, Woodland Patrol kind of cards. And Furtive Homunculus blocks those a little bit better than... You know, you've got like Vampire Noble and all that stuff. Having the Fogwalker, it kind of ends up not being a great defensive card just because of all the 3/2s. There's a fair number of playable ones, even like Fiendbinder or Voldaran Duelist, stuff like that. We have Erdwall Illuminator. I'm not going to investigate a whole lot though. This is Investigate. I was like, does it even say Investigate on that one? But like 2 Investigate cards. 1/3 Flyer is not the worst though. It can be defensive. I'll take it for the sideboard. There's not going to play Silverland Snapper anyways. Vessel of Paramnesia. Yeah, none of these are good. Another Ghostly Wings. This is a bit interesting. I'd love to have had another spell or two, but I don't really have anything. I could play the Convolute, possibly. Convolute could be playable for us. I'm pretty sure that this Nagging Thoughts is staying in. It's a good way to dig down to, like, Arlencord kind of cards. And I can rebuy it with the Scuttler. Not that I love rebuying that card, but I guess it's something. I'm really worried about our lack of removal. We never saw any of the green removal. No Rabbit Bites, no Prey Upons, no Clear Shot, none of that. We didn't see any blue either. We saw a couple of the Spontaneous Mutations, and I guess I should have been more aggressive in taking them. Because we didn't end up with anything. I was thinking we might get like some Sleep Paralysis or something. Nope, nothing. Just a bounce spell and the Somber Wald, which is really dicey. So I might need to have to look at evaluating the spontaneous mutations a little bit higher. The green removal is at such a premium is part of the problem. Like, Prey Upon, Rabbit Bite, and Clear Shot are all just so good that everybody wants to play them. So it's hard to pick them up. Sleep Paralysis is a little easier, but that's in the last pack, and it's not even that good. It's certainly not on the level of the other green removal spells. So it's probably just that I need to value Spontaneous Mutation higher. Even if I don't have a lot of ways to interact with the graveyard, like even without the grapples, without Vessel of Nascency or whatever, I'll have to find some other way to get things into the graveyard. I mean, I do have Terrarion, I do have Wildfield, so it wouldn't have been the worst, and I can always just trade off creatures. Nagging Thoughts does something... Yeah. This looks like the deck. I'm not going to be playing Wolfkin Bond. I don't need Swift Spinner in the main deck. I can play it out of the sideboard, certainly. But main deck, it doesn't seem great. And I like Terrarion for the Arlen Chord. Ooh, I need another playable, actually. I'm only at 22. I think it might be Field Creeper. I feel like we need a 2-drop. We've got a lot of 3s. And some decent enough top end. Alright, this is okay. So let's add our lands. One mountain is probably correct. With Terrarion, Wildfield, and Game Trail, I mean, that gives us 3 solid ways to get it with Wildfield and Game Trail and the mountain. And then it's like Terrarion's like a 0.5. Because you don't want to hold on to Terrarion not cracking it until you draw Arlen Chord. That's not a great way to use Terrarion. But it does operate that way sometimes. Like, it will sometimes fix you for sure. That is part of the point of having it. Yeah, and then this gives us 9 blue sources and 7 green. I'm not sure that I need 7 green sources. I might just need 6. The one problem is the Somberwald Stag. The double green could hurt. I don't have any double blue, though, so I might just want 9. 9 seems fine. Only blue 2-drops, though. You know, I'm just going to switch it. I'm going to add one more island. We'll go 10, 6, and then, you know, 2 red sources, basically. A little bit different because of the Wildfield. Like, none of these are entirely accurate counts because we've got the Wildfield and the Terrarion and things like that. But yeah, I think this is pretty good. Not the best deck in the world. I like that we called the Arlen Chord, though. That's a really nice pickup for us. And I think the deck is certainly reasonable. It's just not great. It's just fairly average. It can certainly win, though. It's got some Exultant Cultist and Enlightened Maniac to power these up. Somberwald Stag is very powerful, same with Arlen Chord. So it's got some cards that certainly do it. Byway Couriers are always good. So, yeah, I'm not unhappy with the deck. It's just not amazing. But we'll go for round 1 and hopefully take down this tournament. See you guys soon. Game Trail right on time. Unfortunately, we now cannot reveal a land for it, so we can't play either of these on curve. But it does let us play Arlen Chord. It does let us play these. That's really quite a good draw for us anyways.